Good morning, everyone, and welcome to This Week in Cincinnati. Election Day is a week from Tuesday. Can you believe it? The campaigns have launched their final push for votes, and today we are looking at the presidential race in Ohio as Election Day draws near. But first, a local contest, the race for Hamilton County Court Clerk. And that contest pits incumbent Republican Tracy Winkler against her Democratic challenger, Aftab Purval. Now, 9 on Your Side has repeatedly asked Winkler to be part of this program. That includes rescheduling when we wanted to look at this race and providing at least 6 different times to conduct an interview in the hopes that we could accommodate her schedule. Despite that, Winkler sent us a statement saying, quote, "Unfortunately, we will not be able to participate in the This Week in Cincinnati taping," end quote. But Aftab Purval is joining us today. 9 on Your Side political reporters Amanda Seitz and Paula Christian also join us as we take a look at this race. Thanks for coming in today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm a first-time candidate, so being on TV is quite a thrill. Thank you.
So I'll ask you this. Why do you want to be the clerk of courts?
It's a great question, because the courts matter. The courts really are special. They're the one place in our government where the courts have to work efficiently to save taxpayer dollars, and they have to be accessible for everyone so that everyone gets treated fairly. And sadly, right now, our courts are behind the rest of the state of Ohio. Right now, we have some of the highest court fees in the entire state, and yet we get some of the worst services. And I think that's because we have unqualified leadership. Too often, the folks who run and win for the clerk of courts do so because of their last name or their family connection and not their qualifications. I'm a former federal prosecutor, currently an attorney with Procter & Gamble. I believe I'm the most qualified person as a professional attorney to drag our courts into the 21st century.
I see these ladies ready to pounce. Go for it.
Well, I was just interested because Aftab has run a campaign that sort of really raised his awareness on the stage of the Democratic Party statewide, and there's rumors of his political future, regardless of how this race turns out for office further along.
So do you have any, no matter what, win or lose, are you a political life junkie now?
Well, it's honestly very flattering that so many people have been calling us, our campaign, a bright star and really showering us with praise. It's been really flattering, but I'm really focused on the clerk of courts. I'm running for this office because, again, I believe our courts matter, and we have to be doing better. Because of local reporting, we've seen that Tracy Winkler has been unfortunately leaning on her publicly funded employees. These employees are funded by taxpayer dollars, leaning on them, bullying them to work on her re-election campaign. She's turned the county courthouse into her own personal re-election campaign office, and it's just disappointing. And I wish she were here today so she could tell us how this happened, what she's done to stop this, and also how we can work together to create a court system to end this pay-to-play politics.
Let's talk about what exactly it is you are talking about, and those are emails. And Amanda, do you want to address this?
Yeah, I was just curious. At this point, we don't know if the emails were sent. They were sent on private email addresses, correct? That you're referring.
They were sent on private email addresses, but during work hours. And the tone of these emails are really shocking, bullying and coercing publicly funded employees during work hours to contribute to her campaign and to work on her re-election campaign. And the only reason we know about this is because one of her own employees came forward and told local reporters that they felt bullied, they felt intimidated, and they worried what would happen if they didn't contribute to the Winkler campaign. This is totally unacceptable.
And do you have proof of that? I mean, that this was sent on company time?
Yes, it was sent during the day, during work hours. Absolutely, that's an unequivocal fact.
Could have been on their lunch break.
Yeah, I guess theoretically someone could be hiding in a closet sending out emails on their phone, sure, but that's patently absurd. These were emails during work hours to publicly funded employees. If you or any of you, if your news manager came to you and said, you need to contribute to one campaign or another. You need to volunteer for one campaign or another. And in order to do that, go ahead and see Channel 9's HR director, who happens to also be the volunteer coordinator for the campaign. That would be shocking behavior, and that's exactly what happened here.
Well, let's move on to what you would do should you become county clerk of courts.
Yeah.
You said we're behind the times. What specific things would you do to make this a better office?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I would go paperless to save taxpayer dollars and to really even the playing field in the courthouse. The amount of taxpayer dollars we spend printing, copying, filing, and snail mailing hard copy documents would knock you down. I will also advocate for a full-time housing court, which is a bipartisan idea to really crack down on slumlords. The mayor supports it, the Democrat, even Joe Dieters, a Republican, supports it. The status quo and Tracy Winkler doesn't. They believe our courts are good enough, and I flatly disagree. And finally, I'll institute a self-help clinic so that folks who can't afford an attorney or who don't want to hire an attorney can come downtown and figure out how to navigate the bureaucratic and confusing courthouse through the help of UC and Northern Kentucky law students. These are bipartisan ideas to run our courts more efficiently and save dollars and also create greater access. And every time we suggest these bipartisan ideas, Tracy Winkler and the status quo tells us the courts are good enough. I flatly reject that. The courts aren't good enough. They have to be better, and under my leadership, they will be better.
But do any of these new ideas result in additional costs?
Absolutely not. What we know is going to a paperless program will save taxpayer dollars, and putting more of our services online, like making sure that all of our courts process online filings, actually saves us money. And the reason I know that, the reason I know that is because Tracy Winkler said that going online services for the common pleas saved us money. There will be a capital investment up front, certainly, but that will result in time with taxpayer savings.
After I'm curious, what do you hear from people when you're out campaigning? What questions do they have about the clerk of court specifically? Is it mostly that they don't know what it does? Or?
Yeah, so it is mostly that they don't know what it does. And unfortunately, the reason they don't know what it does is because so often Tracy Winkler is given opportunities to come in front of the press, to come in front of the public and talk about these issues. And so often, like today, she doesn't. She doesn't take that opportunity. The clerk of courts is critical to the administration of justice. 222 employees, a $12 million budget. Everything that happens in our court system happens through the clerk of courts. It really is the front door between the community and the court system. And when that front door is inaccessible, when it's antiquated, when it's inefficient, it really undermines the rest of our court system.
And that's where we're going to have to leave this conversation. Aftab Hirval, thanks so much for taking your time to come in and speak with us and the people watching today.
Thank you so much.
And as we mentioned, we did invite incumbent Republican court clerk Tracy Winkler to be part of this program. She declined. Up next,